Colette has always been one of my favourite writers ever since I discovered her about 25 years ago. She has the sorts of insights that that very few writers have, and she just writes in a way that's very personal to herself.
I mean, she's just brilliant, Colette. So I feel as though I've gone 8 rounds with her, struggling to... She's so frivolous and so sad, so tragic at the same time.
What she'll choose to say in one sentence, a lesser writer would do a chapter on and you wouldn't really feel you knew it. But she'll talk about one character or one room and she'll just pick the detail that you need to see.
She's an impressionist, so you get these little bursts of, it's like Debussy or something, you get these little sunbursts of images and dialogues and so on. But it's not a conventional narrative. And, you know, she can spend 20 pages on one scene and then the next 3 months fly by in a paragraph.
It's a novel that fascinated me, and the main thing about it for me was when I read Christopher Hampton's first draft of his first script, I instantly went, I get it now. I get, because there had been a few not so good scripts before then, and I think Christopher's script was the key for me.
Well, I read the script. Always a foolish move in my experience, and thought the script was very, very good. You know, and I've done 2 other films with Christopher, so I really fell in love with the script. And then it just, you know, you can never find a reason not to do it, really. I mean, it was just better than anything else I'd read, I guess.
I was having lunch with Stephen one day, and I inadvertently said a very cunning thing. He said, "You've never let me read the script." And I said, "Well, that's because it's absolutely not up your street. It's not your kind of thing at all." So he said, "Oh, well, let me read it." The next day, called me up and said, "I don't know what you're thinking about. It's absolutely, I love it. I want to do it."
He's perfect for Colette. They both have this incredible wit and this incredible love of dry humour and, you know, looking for a nice wry angle on things. And I think this world that she lived in and paints is a world of people who are caustic about each other, but are fond of each other.
Probably the high-class call girls of the day were called courtesans, and they were independently wealthy and very smart and very shrewd businesswomen, and they were kept, and they in turn kept their own lovers.
These women could only really circulate with one another. They couldn't really go into polite society, and so whether they liked each other or not, they were kind of thrown on each other.
They had tremendous influence, and they were their own society, so they were, you know, they only mixed amongst each other. But they were like movie stars. People would recognize them in the street.
These women set fashions by the way they dressed and created dances and set the trend in the way society behaved because they were a bit more daring.
This particular film was very, very difficult to cast. We had a very, very short list of which Michelle was on the top. Of course, we'd worked with her before in Dangerous Liaison, which was a help, but unfortunately she liked the script very much, so that sort of got us off right away.
If you have the privilege of working with actors that are as good as Kathy and Michelle, they bring your game up, they raise the bar, and you see that from the first sort of second of the camera rolling, and you go, okay, right, the flag is right up there, so let's do it.
He is adorable. I loved working with him because he just didn't make me feel like an old fart. And I really appreciated that.
He's very good. He was lovely with me, you know, wrote me a text message welcoming me to the set, and that he was proud to have me play his mother, which I thought was very charming. And I think he's going to be really a wonderful young actor, and as he gets older and more mature, he's going to be fantastic.
Madame Pellew, really, I saw her as someone who was kind of living in the past. Right, she kind of she knew what suited her and was going to go with it forevermore, because this is, you know, she's invested in all this and she's going for it.
Her house is really a museum of all the gifts that she's been given by her suitors over the years, and so they're her trophies in a way.
You know, she's got too much everywhere. The drapage, you know what I mean? It's not, you know, kind of one border is not enough. She has to have two borders. You know, one lot of tassels is not enough. Two lots of tassels. One tablecloth is not enough. It's got to be two. And, you know, kind of, it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's kind of, it's big and it's grand and it's, you know, kind of too much, really. Leia is less is more. And that she has incredibly good taste, and she would buy one chair and spend, you know, a fortune on one chair, whereas Madame Pellew would want 10 chairs, and, you know, they're probably kind of not as kind of chic and divine as Leia's house is, but she doesn't care, basically.
I think Alan is an incredibly subtle designer. He's so good at talking about somebody's character by what they've chosen to do to the world they live in, because it tells a huge amount about someone that they'll use this wallpaper or they'll buy this ornament.
Well, the costumes were really the whole structure of the character for me. Consolata Boyle was our wonderful costume designer. I must say I've never worn such gorgeous clothes in my life. All these antique pieces that she has in her collection that she added to the costumes to give them the look of the period, so that they really seemed more like clothes than costumes. To move in those clothes really just gives you a feeling that I can't describe, of the posture and also the sense of being offered to someone in a way that we don't today.
Oh, those corsets are just torture. You know, it's like giving birth. You always say never again, but then you forget. And then at lunch you have to decide, if I take my corset off, that's 45 minutes to get back into it. But if I don't take my corset off, I can't eat anything. But then if I eat anything and I put my corset back on, then it's really going to hurt. And this is this is kind of what you go through every day.
It was Stephen Frears
2 weeks ago.
and Michelle Pfeiffer before we
2
started.
weeks ago.
Now look.
We are only halfway through.
Absolutely.
Imagine how it will be in 5 weeks.
I mean, I'd do anything with Stephen. He's just such a great character too, you know, and he's a lot of fun, and he just walks around the set like this grumpy old man, and you know, he's funny and he's really smart, and it's just always a joy to work with a director who, you know, of his caliber.
He's very funny, and he's very self-deprecating, and he's a unique human being. You know, I think if you passed him in the street, you might think he was just a man who'd fallen down on his luck or something. But there's really such a brilliant, sharp mind in there, and a lovely heart.
He's very, very focused. He knows what he wants, and he doesn't give you much leeway. But he is meticulous. He's very into the mood of the film.
He's sort of very intuitive about when a scene isn't working. Almost rhythmically, he'll say, this is a sentence or two too long, or there's something not quite right with the scene, or this passage doesn't seem to work. And I've learned to trust these instincts because, you know, if you sit down and think about it, you can usually find a way to improve it.
I was surprised how quickly he cut what he thought was the movie together. He said, will you come and have a look at it? And I went along to the viewing room and saw it. And I walked outside, and he was sitting there, and I went, yes! And because I thought, yeah, we've actually got it. And there's nothing that Stephen has done that I haven't believed in. And I think he's done a masterful job.